Hi, I know what you're thinking. Epilogue? Where's episode 6? Well, there is no episode 6. I'm going to be bringing season 1 of this campaign to a close. I'll talk a little bit more about what that entails later. But first I want to talk a little bit about why I'm bringing things to a close. And the first one really is just a unique aspect of recording solo play for an audience. If you're playing a solo game at home, it's very easy to put a game to the side, put a bookmark in your journal, if you will, pick up another game or do something else, and you can always go back and return to to a campaign that you had put to one side. Now, obviously, that's extremely disruptive for an audience, and there's a huge pressure and obligation in solo play for a YouTube channel that just doesn't exist normally in solo play. And I was starting to feel a little bit of that pressure, that obligation, and it kind of killed the desire to keep going with this campaign. In addition to that, I was sick for a couple of weeks, right when I was planning on recording episode 6 initially. Like right at the beginning of my sick time was when I had scheduled to record episode 6. And that obviously killed a lot of the momentum. At around about the same time, I had started playing 2 duet games of the One Ring. Duet meaning one player, one GM, I'm being the GM, and using the Strider mode rules for the single player. And it started striking me how well the game works, how well Strider mode works in duet mode with a GM and a single player. In fact, I'd say much better than it does in Strider mode with just a single solo player. And I think that's just because there's not a lot of content in terms of plot generation for Strider mode. And that's not a criticism, it just is what it is. There are the lore tables to help try and generate plot potentially. But I found for a world like Tolkien, it would have been nice to have had a little bit more in the way of plot hooks and things like that. I found it really difficult to really sink my fingers into, plot. And I found myself defaulting to looking at the published stuff and adapting it for solo play, which really isn't what it's meant for and kind of killed the enthusiasm a little bit for me. So I'm parking the campaign for a number of reasons, and I'm going to be coming back to it. I would love to come back to it, but I want to wait and see what comes out in the future for Strider mode, whether that be official additional content or stuff that fans are creating, because it's still quite a new product, really. It's not been out that long, and these things take time to produce. So that's what I'm doing. I'm leaving it in Tharbad. We'll say that Finolf and Borin have arrived at the North Gate. They've paid the toll that everyone has to pay when arriving, of 1 silver each. I'll be using some new house rules. I've made one about wealth, where I'm splitting the treasure stat into 3 different stats: silver, wealth, and treasure. You can read all about it in the description below. And they're going to be basically going into the inn on the north side of the river there in Tharbad. And when I come back to Season 2, that's where we'll pick up. We'll pick up with them in Tharbad, having maybe just arrived, so maybe like the day they arrive or the day after they've arrived, something along those lines. And that's where we'll pick up. Okay, so that's the One Ring. I want to spend a little bit of time just talking about other solo content coming on the channel. Now, obviously, if you're only interested in the One Ring, there's going to be a bit of a gap of at least many, many months before I return to Season 2. But that doesn't mean I'm stopping solo content. If you like solo content, then there's a lot coming up on the channel. First off, I want to talk about Forbidden Lands. Forbidden Lands is a dark fantasy game by Free League. I ran a Season 1 of a solo campaign on the channel 1 or 2 years ago, and it's the most popular content on the channel, in fact. But I used a third-party solo supplement called Forbidden Hero, which worked. However, I've written the official solo rules for Forbidden Lands, which were unlocked as a stretch goal for their Blood March and Book of Beasts Kickstarter campaign. And that is going to be released, the final version of that is going to be released hopefully sometime before Christmas, and to the public, it's going to be released sometime in the new year, I imagine. So that's a big thing. Obviously, I want to be showcasing the rules that I've written, and that's the next campaign I'm planning on running on the channel in terms of solo content. In addition, I want to run a bunch of other solo stuff. I want to look at tools that can be used for solo. I want to talk about emulators that people can use for solo play. I want to talk about other solo products that are out there on the market. I want to possibly do some one-shots of some solo games that are designed to be run in short bursts. I want to be looking at potentially solo miniature gaming. So things like, well, the currently kickstarting Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars, which has a solo mode which has been unlocked as a stretch goal. There's also 5 Parsecs from Home, of course. There are games like Core Space and Star Wars Imperial Assault, which can be run in solo mode. So these are games that I'm starting to look at. I already own quite a few of these. I'm kickstarting, I'm backing Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars. So this is also something that I'm interested in. And I'm kind of curious to see how the divide between board game and tabletop role-playing game in terms of solo play, how they can kind of be brought together, or whether there's things that we can learn from one to the other. And I think it's potentially going to make for some interesting content. So that's it. This is a very short video. I just really wanted to bring an end to Season 1 of the tour campaign, talk about what's coming up, and that's what I've done. So hopefully you'll join me for upcoming content. And if you haven't already and you like what I'm doing, then please hit the subscribe button, as it really does help my channel to grow. Thanks very much, and catch you next time.